try take two. Aidan, are you there?
Yes, Nick, yes. How are you?
I can barely hear you, but we're just gonna have a little try here. I can barely hear you. I'm just going to work out whether our team can hear you at the moment.
Yeah.
Just have you got us now? I think you're there, Aidan. I think, well, if we can, we're just going to... I don't know if you've been able to hear what we've been saying here. We've been talking about the shape of what's been happening over the last few days. How are you feeling this morning?
Yeah, very good, Nick. Thank you, everybody. Very good here. Thanks very much.
And tell me a little bit about how the horses have come out of Epsom. Are you pleased with what you've seen so far today?
Yes, yeah. They've been out for a walk and a pick of grass, Nick, and everybody seems very happy with them.
As I said, first time since 2012 that you've completed the hat-trick of Group 1s at Epsom. Perhaps we can start with Lambourn first. We were talking to Wayne earlier in the programme. When you walked out to the front of the grandstand yesterday, what were you expecting to see from your three horses?
I suppose exactly what happened, really. We were expecting Wayne was probably going to go forward to make the running, and unless it was someone going very fast, he was going to end up in front. And that's what happened. And Wayne obviously gave him a great ride. He had to be aggressive from the gate because he was drawn kind of in the middle of him, and he's a horse that stays very well, so he probably didn't want to be getting taken to by anybody else, really. And I suppose Ryan was going to go forward where he was, and Colin was going to go forward a little bit as well, but comfortable. And I think it got a little bit rough up the hill, and I think Ryan got chopped up at the top of the hill, and Colin ended up probably a little more forward than he thought he was going to be, out a little bit. So I suppose obviously to have one horse in any race and to go right is very difficult. So if you have three in a race, it's usually not going to go right for them all. So yeah, so listen, I suppose we learned that Wayne's horse stays very well, uncomplicated, straightforward horse, and like I said, Wayne gave him a brilliant ride. And then I suppose we learned that Colin's horse could be a miler, so obviously he was probably half a mile out of his ground, and it's very possible that Ryan's horse is a mile and a quarter horse, even though their races didn't go as well as they would have wanted. But that's what the Derby does every year. You get fairly straightened out and sorted out what you are or you aren't, because you do get exposed, really.
So actually, to many extents, it's the beginning and not the end, Aidan. You can actually learn and move forward rather than this just being the culmination.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the Derby and the Oaks are the races that expose the whole thoroughbred 3-year-old generation, classic generation, and their flaws and their weaknesses and their strengths. So that's what it's all about, really. And it's not easy and it's not simple. And you usually know where you're going after it.
And for Lambourn, is it as obvious to you as it is to everybody else what the rest of his season might look like?
I know. Listen, obviously the lads will make that decision, and we'll see how he comes out of when he gets back Cantron after 10 days or that. But it looks like he's an Irish Derby horse. Obviously, it's the colour. It looks like would really suit him. He's, like I say, straightforward. He gallops and he stays. He's very genuine. So that's what it looks like. And then I suppose see after that, really. Yeah, I think, and it usually works itself out really after that. But that looks the obvious next step with him if everybody is happy with that. That is obviously.
Obviously, you trained his sire, you trained his grandsire as well. What similarities would Lambourn have to Australia, if any?
Yeah, he's Australian. Australia's probably the most underrated horse stallion ever. He gets you quality. He gets you horses with great minds. He gets horses that stay and are very sound. So, and that's what he has always done, and that's exactly what he was himself. So, I'd say at stud today, of all the stallions in the world, he is the most underrated. And his fillies, I'd say, are going to be great brood mares. It's so uncomplicated. Like I said, very genuine, stay, great minds, simple horses to deal with.
I remember, I'm sure you said once that Australia had no flight instinct. He was so cold. Is that Lambourn in the early part of yesterday's Derby, just kind of dossing along, doing his own thing?
Yeah, you have a good memory, Nick. That's exactly. Australia had no fight or flight instinct. Like if you put him in first gear, he stays in first gear. If you go into second, he'll stay in second gear. The same if you go into third gear, and he won't slip into fourth or fifth gear unless you want him to. So and he was like that. Like obviously Wayne gave him a brilliant ride. He knew him very well, and he was riding in all his work, and he knew exactly what his limitations were and his strengths and his weaknesses as well. So yeah, so that was it exactly. The lads that were dealing with him did a great job. Mohammed and Dean and Wayne, they were all riding him, and then Donal and Derek and everybody all around him, and Michael, and there's a lot of people had him in good shape for yesterday. And like Wayne said, going out of the parade ring, and I walked out onto the track with him, and he just said this horse feels on fire today. So he was obviously, which we saw, and he used that to his strengths really.
What is it about Wayne Lordan you admired, and why did you need him in Ballydoyle?
Yeah, so Wayne is an unbelievable horseman. He's the most unbelievable, uncomplicated, genuine person you'll ever meet in your life. He's grateful for everything and expects nothing. That's Wayne totally. He's always delighted for everybody that does well, and he's always the first man to congratulate everybody. You never hear him saying a bad word about anybody. But he's very strong. He's a great shape. Like I say, he's a great mind, and he's an unbelievable person to work with, really. But an unbelievable rider and horseman and jockey all rolled into one. So and like obviously. Wayne worked for David, and when David retired, he came over to us. And listen, we were so delighted that he was happy to come to us, and what a difference he's made to us all, really.
And he very nearly won the Oaks for you on Well, but Ryan had the last laugh on Mini Hawk. How far apart do you think they are in terms of ability?
Well, I suppose we always thought she would get a mile and a half, but she was by Wooden Basset. So Wooden Basset would be an influence for speed as well. But the unusual thing about them is they're staying very well. So we weren't sure. We knew Mini Hawk had moved up a lot from her last run. Her cruise was gone very high, and Ryan even thought that earlier in the race he would be able to go in another gear or two higher than she even was the last day. But Wayne Silly is uncomplicated. He got the fraction spot on as well, and Ryan challenged him obviously, and Wayne had more left to go again, and she did. She went all the way to the line. I suppose whether what route you go with them. Listen, Wayne Silly could go back to a mile and a quarter, and she looks like she gets a mile and a half as well, and Ryan Silly is probably a little bit like that as well, but maybe a higher cruise. But but it's hard to know because Wayne Silly is very relaxed, so there's probably a lot more in there than you really get or see.
And are you still inclined to go to the King George with Jan Bruegel?
Obviously the lads will decide that. Nick, and obviously Los Angeles is the boss here at the moment, so they'll all fall into line behind him. So he will go to the Prince of Wales first, and then if he goes to the King George, obviously the others won't go. And if he does go, Jan Bruegel would be very happy to go there. But the lads will make that decision themselves closer to the time, and we'll see how they all come out their next races and all those kind of things, I think, Nick.
All right, Aidan, thanks so much for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure, Nick. Thank you.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.